Hey YouTube. So I've been talking with some lovely people over on the Pinnacle Studio forums. Hello to all of you there. And I wanted to share some interesting results. I'm doing this as a video instead of a typed out post. That way maybe more people can see this. I think it's a little bit easier to find a YouTube video than it is to find a Pinnacle Studio forum post. Just my experience, but lately I've been talking with them about getting more a better hardware, which would mean replacing my motherboard so then I could upgrade my CPU to something higher end i7 if I did upgrade, and I could get some DDR4 RAM. All my other hardware is perfectly fine. In fact, just for reference here, we'll just go ahead and pull this up so I can show you this. But the test that I'm going to be doing here is something interesting because I've noticed lately that it's on Pinnacle Studio 20 is the latest version I have. Here's what I've got, and it's only using about 50% CPU in exporting a project, whereas Studio 18 used 100% CPU. And according to them, it depends on the task and what you're doing, which does make sense. One of my friends who's built his own computer and uses a less common version of Linux, I forget what it's called, he says that there's bottlenecks if it's only using 50%, but I'm inclined to agree with these guys that it depends on the task. And this little test here actually proves it. So let me pull open episode of Clock Hunting here. There's an MP4 file, but the rest of it is M2TS. So what I'm doing for this test, oh, did I close it? Yes, I did. Is I decided to test and see, because I was wondering, maybe MP4 is the culprit. Maybe MP4 just uses less CPU. So I'm just going to go to export here, to export this. And first of all, I want to pick MP4. I've been doing MP4 and then uploading to YouTube, because from study, it seems like that's the best format for YouTube. I'm going to click Start Export, and we're going to do CT for CPU test. I'm not going to export the full project since I already have it exported. But if we hop on over to here, and we see... what? Where is my OBS? Okay. Excuse me. So this is very weird. Yeah, I was supposed to be doing 95 to 100% CPU. What I did in my initial test, which I now can't duplicate for some reason, and I did this test just a minute ago, is I opened up a project that had... Whoops. I opened up a project that had mostly, they're labeled as M2TS on my computer, but I know it was recorded in the AVC HD file format on my Sony HX90V camera. And I started exporting as an MP4, and that gave me 95 to 100% CPU usage, 1080p MP4. So then I opened up a project where it was just MP4 files recorded from my camera, because I've done some recording in MP4 on my camera, and I opened up that project, and I started exporting to MP4 1080p, and I got only 50% CPU usage, which seemed to point to MP4. So then I started exporting that same project, this shirt blur project that I just had open, started exporting this then as a, what is it? Yeah, I started exporting this as the, I think it's called XAVCS. Yeah, right. I started exporting as this at 1080, I believe. And then on that time, it used 70% CPU, which says that this is a bigger format, so it needed more CPU for some reason. I don't know why. But then when I started recording for all you guys, it just went out the window completely. So I stopped recording and I tested, and it still got the same results. I even closed down OBS, which wasn't using any CPU because it's not recording, and I restarted Pinnacle Studio 20, and I did the same thing, and they're all just using 50% CPU or less. Like, in this case here, I think this is even using 30% CPU, when before it used about 50% CPU. And I'm not letting it export the full way, as you can see here, but I even tried using a different name, because I've been using CT, stands for CPU test, for all of these tests here, but I thought, I wonder if there's file little bits of data getting left over when I cancel exporting, and then they just haven't been written over by other files on the hard drive yet. This is an external hard drive plugged into USB 3.0, by the way, that we're exporting to. I wondered, so I tried CP and then CR, just some random short names, and they still used 50% or 20% CPU. So I have no idea what's going on. For a moment there, it was using 100% CPU on the bigger files and then less on the MP4. And that actually kind of sort of makes sense because I've only recently started recording in MP4 on my camera, mainly because I needed something in MP4 so I could send it to my smartphone, because that's the only format that will do that from my camera with Wi-Fi. And then I just haven't changed it back because MP4 doesn't look too bad. But it kind of makes sense that higher CPU usage would happen with the bigger files, and it's not just the version. But I really don't know what's going on, so I thought I would just share that via YouTube. Hopefully help anybody out who has any questions. Maybe someone out there has the answer, whether you're on Pinnacle Studio Forum or not. Go ahead and get in touch with me, and maybe we can suss this out. Because at this point, it's looking like I don't need to upgrade my my CPU hardware, especially if it's only using like 50% CPU, which I initially thought meant only using some of the cores. But as we can see here, it is using, looks like it's using all 4 cores of my i5, but only 40-50% CPU, which seems kind of puzzling that a video-intensive process would only need 50% CPU across all the cores. And it makes me wonder, I'm sure there's not in Pinnacle Studio settings, but it just makes me wonder, is there anything Pinnacle Studio could do to utilize more CPU, optimize it better? Because it seems like it would go faster if it could. So, is there a bottleneck in Studio's code where it just doesn't use all the power? I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.